All right. Low impact and toning. We are starting with our ball, and I want you to embrace core stabilization right out of the gate. So y'all know we normally start with the bounces. So if you're already bouncing, stop it. I don't want you to think that you know where I'm going with this. In the past, I have, even if you're on a smaller ball, okay, that's okay. I want you to see what is required of you to squeeze the ball, sit up straight, and then feel your feet leave the floor. And maybe you're like both feet at the same time. Yes. So the thing is you will don't feel like you have to maintain a complete S curve sit, right? And if you get a second and then you have to put your toes back down, right? And you keep putting your toes down and pulling them up, but you can't seem to establish the balance, that's where your start point is today. But ideally, the inside of the lower leg, as is part of your hamstring and adductor, squeezing the ball. As soon as you get your feet off the floor and you squeeze the ball, the body will probably go into its C curve, which is not a problem. So I'd like for us to try to just like do this for, a couple of minutes of effort. And this is one version, right? But when when we think about working, or let me say that I think that when people think about what is required of working their middle body, so often the traditional typical movement would be a sit up or a crunch, okay? And your phenomenal abdominal area and your core take up so much more of your body, right, than what we think. So, doing a movement like this, where you're firing up adductors, lower abdomen, right, and you're trying to just squeeze your parts, are you having any success with it? You might reach a point. Now, I'm not trying to move myself around. That is just a natural byproduct of my muscles going, oh, let's fire that one. Oh, let's fire that one. And that can leave your body um, feeling like you're not in control because it's a new learning for your muscle activation. So if you've not yet managed to get your both feet off the floor, don't worry about it. You're going to go for about 30 more seconds, right? But just trying, even if you're like, okay, well, this would be something I could come back to in the week and try on my own. The more uncomfortable you are with it, the more you need to try to do it. It might just be that you need to put yourself next to your sofa or next to a wall, something that you feel like you can start by holding on and grabbing hold of something and then getting your feet off the floor. But there is another version of this that we're not going to go into today. But this is a great way to spend a couple of minutes doing some muscle activation that doesn't ordinarily get hit from a seated position. Release and relax. Good. Stand up. Belly to the ball. If you remember, I want to say on Monday, that seemed like it was a long time ago, but we were doing opposite arm to leg extension, and that might have even been last week, but I thought we did a pretty good segment in our Monday class. So belly on the ball, think back strengthening, okay? Back strengthening, again, references a whole lot of your body, also known as your posterior chain. So if we just start with stiffening up the legs, pelvic tilting into the ball, getting your chest to just lift gently. And if you're looking forward, right, holding your head up, viewing the screen, I need for you to lower your head and look down at the floor. And now you're going to give me an alternating lifting leg. When you lift the leg, let your focus be on pushing the heel away from you versus lifting the leg. Okay, two different end results there. All right, so how heavy are you in your hands? All right, start lessening the work in the hands, and you might find that your feet slide a little bit if you didn't put your mat down. No big deal. I like to think that the extra little hurdle or challenge that's presented sometimes by not having everything just perfect in your space is another way that the body needs to adapt. So now, no hands on the floor. Put your hands on the ball and just gently pull your chest up a little bit. Stiffen up the legs at the knees. Pelvic tilt into the ball, right? The wider you have your feet, probably the better. Keep pelvic tilting into the ball. If you're holding your head up, kinking your neck, I need for you to find neutral. Take your shoulders, slide them back away from the ears. Pelvic tilt more, stiffen up the legs more. You're just holding. Okay. So if your feet start to slide, just go with it. It's okay. You're not going to end up totally, there will be a stop point where your body's leverage changes and you will settle in. Okay. So take and shift your weight dominant to one leg. Can you just barely get the toes of the other foot off the floor? Now point them, pelvic tilt into the ball. Put that foot down. It's hard flexed in the down. Gently rock your weight to that leg, pelvic tilt. Start telling your brain, guide the shoulders away from your ears. Brain, stiffen up the leg at the knee. Brain, squeeze the buns. Brain, start slowly lifting the other foot from the floor. Ooh, and if you lift too high, too fast, which is what I just did, I started sliding to that weighted leg side. So I'm now correcting to get into balance position. All right. You will have one side of your body that is like a master of the movement already, touchdown, and one side of you that often feels like you're using somebody else's parts. Pelvic tilt into the ball, shoulders out of the ears, start listing to the weighted foot side, freeing up the other foot to go into point to toe. And even if you didn't get any further, because I just turned my head, then pointing the toe and like leaving the big toenail down to the floor, but the leg is straight. Okay. That would still be a good start point if you can't get the foot to lift from the floor without falling off the ball. Switch sides. So here's what's happening. If every time you go to lift the leg, you practically or totally lose your balance, it is because your body has lost its pelvic tilt. All right. It's lost its pelvic tilt and knee extension. So this is your last one. You can always put your fingers down if you're really struggling. Shoulders out of the ears. The chest is pulled up a little bit. The neck is in neutral. You're in pelvic tilt. You're commanding your body. Stiffen up your leg. Slowly start extending the other leg. Lift it so slow that the body doesn't feel like much is happening here, right? And now release. Relax. Here we go. Walk it out. Oh. You get to determine how far you're prepared to go in your walkout. All right. Somehow I always end up like way on this side of the room when we do these walkouts. But my suggestion is this. I would like us to go into a greater walkout and then try to pull the ball towards our arms. Now, if you don't walk out far enough, what happens is there's nowhere for your body to go. It's like you feel like you're going to topple over. So you can do a short walkout and then try to barely move the ball, but you'll never really find your control or leverage, right? So if you can, get a little bit further, pull it in, exhale. Inhale as you stretch back, exhale. And maybe you find that your back is like really stiff. And when you go to pull the knees in, your body doesn't naturally curl into itself. Give me two more. Pull and exhale. Inhale, stretch it back. Pull and exhale. Stretch it back under control. Walk back now. Back, back, back. Elbows coming to the floor. Toes finding the floor. If you're, again, on a giant ball, it might be that your feet don't touch the floor, and that's okay. What is going to be the important part of this is making sure that your shoulders are not sliding up towards the ears. So let's all establish elbows down, glide the shoulders away from the ears, and then stiffen up the leg. Don't raise the legs as high as you can. Just stiffen them so they lift a little bit. Keep pulling the shoulders out of the ears. And now I want you to give me flutter kicks. So the load is in the elbows. You're in pelvic tilt. The elbows, if you look from your right to left elbow and then kind of let your gaze track up to the shoulder, hopefully your elbows are right under your shoulders. You're in flutter kick. Keep pulling the shoulder blades down the back and pelvic tilting. 5, 4. The flutter kick should have you doing this with stiff leg, not bending back behind the knee. 5, 4, 3, 2. Now, make fists. Come up to knuckles down, palms turned in, hands shoulder width apart. Your legs are long. Turn the toes out, right? And I want you with pointed toes turned out, click the heels. Draw your shoulders out of your ear line. Click, click, click. The only reason why I have you in fists is to get you off of a wrist action, right? So you don't feel like the movement can't be done because you're putting too much load in your wrist. Can you click your legs faster? Click, click, click. When you feel your heels come together, hopefully you don't feel your big toes smack each other. We want the toes turned out. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and cut. Ease back. Help yourself up. Grab a little drink or not. So something that I did in my Tuesday morning class made my quads really sore. And I'm always, it then scares me for what my participants may be feeling, because if I'm sore, then I wonder, did they end up with the same soreness? Because frankly, I thought most of what I did yesterday, grab your light weights, was mostly flexibility work. But there was one move that we did that didn't feel aggressive at the time. That this morning I was like, as I was coming down the stairs, I was like, oh, that's a little tender. All right, here we go. Lateral raise. What if your shoulders say no go? This is no go zone. Then maybe you shorten your lever and you just try to lift your elbow. And I'm going to bring back into your state of awareness. When you go to lift your arm, if your arm is jammed up into your trunk, then it will pinch. So think long arms, like someone is pulling your wrist away from your body. And that might be all you have to do to like avoid the pinching. 10 more, 10. This little movement here helps to shape what's called the medial or lateral delt, right? So you've got anterior, medial, which is side, right? Middle, and then posterior, rear delt. And we try to hit all three heads. The frontal head is more used in the course of our day, right, than most of the other parts of the shoulder. And now for the rear delt, hinge, bend your legs, take your lumbar. Let's get into S curve, right? And then big sweep. While you're bent over here, pull your belly button up into your body. While you're bent over here, try not to look up and forward, right? If you need to redirect yourself so you're looking at the screen, turn yourself to the side so you can look at the screen like this, right? Give me 5 more. 5, 4. When you lift the arms, right? The arm will have a little bend at the elbow so that the elbow leads the lift, not the hand. Give me 1 more. Pull yourself up. Big circle. You can drop your weight if you need to. I'm just for the sake of demonstration, right? I can take the weight away. I can shorten my lever, so I'm driving the movement with the elbow, and naturally my body rocks forward and back. And I'm doing, instead of a step touch today, we're just rocking off of the toes of the front foot, right? Let me get going again. Off the toes of the front foot and then off the heel of the back foot. This movement always surprises me when I give it, and I find so often people are really uncomfortable, unnatural with this shifting of weight from front to back, leg to leg, toe to heel. Okay. Now your arm should be starting to feel a great amount of fatigue, even if you didn't have any weight. Release, relax. Switch the feet out. Okay, I'm using opposite foot forward to my sweeping arm. Let your body flow with the direction of the arm. My body finds this to be one of the most natural feelings, right? But if your body is like challenged by it, let me suggest that you shorten the distance between your feet a little bit so it's less right out of the gate, right? And all you're trying to do is soften the back knee, soften the front knee, right? Soften the back knee. And if your arm is doing a different tempo, a different rhythm to where I am in my rhythm, whatever feels comfortable to you. What happens when we get both arms going? When we do both arms, we're going to change the direction of them. Okay, so give me 5 more in this reverse. Hopefully, naturally, the hand comes up or the arm comes up and then the hand kind of turns out and back and down. Turn the palm out, back and down. Lift it, thumb up. Turn the palm out, back and down. Do this last one. Turn it, release it. Stop the legs. Okay. All right. So now, feet apart. You feeling good? Your there's a stroke, right? I think it's called the butterfly stroke or something like that. This is one of the hardest swim strokes, right? Because think about how much is required of your body. So imagine you're in the pool, face down, stroke. What has to happen? The palms push down, they have to come back, turn out, raise up, which requires a huge amount of strength, realign themselves, down, turn, lift, push them palm down, turn them out, lift, squat down, turn them out, stand up. 10, 9, 8. The up should feel the hardest. That's when you're exhaling, right? 7. Inhale, exhale. 6. Inhale, exhale. 5. 3. 2. Last one. Oh, relax. Now, maybe your shoulders did it, maybe they didn't. I'm sure you found some version that was suitable for you. I'm reaching down and I'm grabbing a couple of balls. We haven't used our small little balls for a while. So just for the sake of maybe you don't have a small ball, but you've got your big ball. I always like to bring the big ball back into the equation if you have this readily available to you, but not a smaller ball. All right, so you pick your position. The small ball is actually going to create a harder challenge, right? Especially if you're on carpet. But this is my lacrosse ball, which has a phenomenal bounce to it, right? So we'll get rid of that one. That one's too easy. Okay. And now the tennis ball, you know, if it hits the carpet just right, not a problem. If you're working with me, switch to the other hand, right? If you've got your little pickleball, just know you're going to have to, I'm going to get to that one in a second, but just know that you're going to have to throw it harder. All right. And I'm going to get rid of the tennis ball and I'm going to go with the pickleball. So there are movements with these medicine balls, weighted medicine balls. Switch to the other side, right? If you're doing your big ball and you've been doing alternating hand bounce, then pick an arm and do same side bounce. Right? Now, get ready. Hold your ball. Stand with one foot. You're not holding the big ball, right? So you're on one leg. The outside leg, that's the side I want you to move the ball to. So if you're using the big ball, it's on the outside leg. And then look at your space. For me, I've got some raised parts of this rug. So I don't even know how this is going to go. I'm going to try to hit into this square here. So you're bouncing the ball on the standing leg side. Right. Again, you might have to put your foot down, but can I just suggest to you that your stance leg, right? Make your stance leg be strong. So tight quad, tight glute. If it feels too easy, then raise the foot, right? Raise the knee of that other leg. And 5, 4, 3, 2, switch sides. Okay, get into it. Stance. This is when I kind of like to have the big ball. This pickleball, I'm trying to work into this little square here where I can hopefully continually hit the flat part of the rug. Now, the pickleball to me, because it's lighter, right? And it has holes in it, it's a little less predictable. So I wanted to go with the greatest option of challenge. The stance leg, as you continue to bounce, I stop bouncing because I want to reiterate your stance leg will tend to soften at the knee, which will only make it worse. Stand tall. Squeeze the bun. 5, 4, 3, 2, and now relax. So I was getting to my little story about weighted medicine balls. Some of you have more gadgets, and I want to give you an option. If you have a 4 or 6 pound medicine ball that actually has a bounce factor to it, now you can grab it, right? But if you don't, then your big ball is what you're going to use. And I'm going to turn to the side. All right. I want you to spread your feet comfortably wide. And what I want you to do is I want you to squat and drop. Now, I'm going to, if you're using your big physio ball, then you're going to stay on point like this. But if you went to get your heavy medicine ball, your movement's going to be a little bit different. Okay. So it's going to look more like this. You will take your med ball up and you will throw it hard so that it bounces back up high enough so that you're not catching it in a bent over position. That is really important. So you have to decide. You could do this with a small little tennis ball too, right? We've done it in class that way in my live class at Indian Rocks Beach. But here we go. So now to create the challenge, more challenge, if you're using your medicine ball, you're not going to go at this tempo because you're not going to be able to. If you've got this big ball here, let's stop catching it and let's go patty cake, patty cake, patty cake, open hands, palms just hit the ball, and now you're keeping tempo. And because your body is distracted with this eye-hand coordination timing thing, you may have forgotten that you're working your thighs. But let me bring your attention to it. Do you feel them firing up? And cut. So I'm already pre-fatigued there just based on yesterday, but I hope we did enough of that for you to feel your heart rate have come up a little bit. All right? Okay. Go for your hula hoop or your core twisty board, or you're going to jog in place. You're going to try to move your feet. I just want you to have options. So in my one of my sessions on Monday, I took my core twisty board to one of my, she's 89-year-old clients. And I was like, let's just create an environment where she can do it. So I took her outside because we train at her house. And I wanted her to get a little bit of direct sun on her. So we're standing outside at the balcony, it's a rail. Put the little core twisty board down. She gets on it. She gets to hold on to the rail. And she probably twisted for about 3 minutes. She got a big smile on her face. And she felt playful. Literally, the workout could have ended there. Why? Because of what came from that wonderful feeling of having your body liberated. At that moment in time, she wasn't thinking about her knee pain, her neck pain, her ache pain, her rheumatoid arthritis, right? Whatever you're doing, do something different, okay? And so I got the biggest kick out of that because we just jibber jabbered and had a nice conversation, and she was just twisting away. And, you know, this is the thing, is that exercising should have an element of playfulness to it. And that, don't stop. Get back after it. So now, maybe a hardcore athlete might hear me say that and go, well, that's not going to win you any races. Release and relax. But, you know, we're in various stages of our journey with fitness, right? And our long-term health. And I think that if every time you go to do something physically and your expectation of that event is that you need to feel like you've totally exhausted yourself or it doesn't count, that to me seems more like it's punishment on the body. And now I'm going to share another story with you. Opposite arm to leg extension, push. Okay. I'm going to get back to the story, but there is a term and it's called multiplanar, Planar, multiplanar. Okay. So when our limbs move in a particular direction, okay, if everything is tracking in the same line, that is only one plane that the body's working in. But say we keep our leg in alternating pattern on one plane, but we take our arms and have them move on a different line, okay? That is called multiplanar. And your body mental aspect too, has to now adjust to this. Go back with me, arms and leg move in the same direction. So even if you're challenged by it, you can still go, okay, I feel that. And now take the arms, bring them across, right? That in and of itself should feel totally like there's a slight disconnection and your body has to work harder. So you're going to keep your alternating leg, but now let's diagonal slice the arms the other way. It doesn't matter which leg goes when, right? You're just staying with it. Arms are slicing. And if you find that you can only get the arm to come up a little bit because beyond a certain level, you're out of control, right? You do you. Swish, swish. So I feel like I have a lot of, it's called 2 cents. I'll put my 2 cents in, right? So I've got a lot more than 2 cents that I incorporate into everything. But sometimes my big fat mouth gets me in trouble. Do one more, release and relax. Sometimes my big fat mouth gets me in trouble and I don't even know that it's happening at the time, right? Because I wouldn't intentionally do it. You're done with your ball for now. We may come back to it. I've been invited to participate in something that I'm actually one heavy weight, think deadlift. I'm happy to be included, but I think I'm already stepped on some toes. Okay. Hips, feet hip width apart. Hand starts, you're only doing single side, single arm, but both legs. Soften the knees, push the hips back, let your weight come right towards this middle. It's called your midline. So the center, right? And as soon as you get to tabletop, if your spine is in the right position, you will feel your hamstring muscle fire up. Pull yourself up, squeeze the bun, let the hand reset at the side body. Shoulders pulled back, pelvic tilt just to activate right there. Now re-soften the knees, load the heels, shove the hips back, start looking down, let your arm come right through the middle as if you were going to set it on the floor right between the feet. And frankly, you would need to really bend your legs if you were going to put the weight on the floor, which I'm not telling you to or not to. It's just a slightly different move. When you stand up, make sure you keep your back flat and then pull up and squeeze. So it is a much harder movement to deep squat and put the weight right between the feet and stand up than it is to shorten the movement and just do deadlift. You pick between the two. Hinge, and maybe you're like, well, I kind of like the feel of both of them. I'm going to alternate between deadlift and the squat to touch. Pull it up. Okay, I don't think I can continue my story until we get to a less intense part. Oh, I just bonked myself in the knee. Watch that dumbbell. Last one. And then you're going to switch sides. Okay. Deadlifts can be done with a straighter leg, but only if you can control your S-curve spine. The tighter your body is through the back and through the glute and the hamstring, the less you'll be able to control your S curve with straight legs. You need to bend your legs to figure out, are you even a candidate, right, for trying to squat to touch the floor? Stand up, pull your weighted arm back to the side body. And there's this other thing that's happening with my hand behind my back. It's a perfect measuring position so that when I'm standing up, the fingers, right, connect with the elbow. But that's because my shoulders are pliable. So if you put your hand back there and you can't find your own arm, maybe your arm is sitting in the wrong spot when you bring it back. Okay, here we go. Don't get distracted. If you're going to do the squat, Figure out, can you get the weight between the 2 feet with the hips down? Stand up, pull the arm back. See if you can touch the fingertips to the inside of that weighted elbow. Squeeze your buns. And now hip hinge, go deadlift. Are you still in chest pulling up away from the waist? Bring it up, stand and touch the inside of the elbow. Squat if you're gonna. Stand, deadlift. The squat with a single arm load feels really weird, right? Right? Because you feel like your body's a little bit out of line. Muscularly, you're having to override that dominant weighted side. This is your last one. Come up, release, relax. All right. What are you going to do for your aerobics? While you're figuring out what you're going to do for your aerobics, I'm just going to go back to my hula hoop since I continue to need to master that. If you don't have a big towel, go and get one. And I want you to start thinking about, okay, are you on carpet? Because if you're on carpet, it won't matter. The big towel's not going to move, and then you're just not going to need the towel at all. But do you have a space that allows you to, for your towel to have some slide, right? Or is everybody on carpet? You might even have, I don't think I have one in my little bag. So they make these little glider pads for if you are working out on carpet and you need your feet to slide. But I want to do a foot specific training exercise. We've kind of been leaving our feet, alone, but I want to make sure we stick with some of the basics of our strengthening. So whatever you're doing, even if you're jogging in place, can you hula hoop and kind of jog? Not really. So you see, the thing is we put our own limitations on ourselves, right? Just on feeling unaccomplished with something and not actually feeling like we've mastered it. So sometimes we hone in on something and are like, okay, I can't move on until I can keep the hula hoop going perfectly in that circle or twisting or whatever it is. But I'm here to show you that as soon as I tried and I changed if I change the intensity of something, it immediately makes me go, oh, wake up, body. That's all we're trying to do with our moves. Just wake up the body in a lot of different ways. All right. So now that we've brought the towel into the equation, there it is. We did this, I believe it was last week. Time is just flying by. Put your towel out. If you're like, what do I do if I can't have a slidey towel? If you don't have a slidey towel and you're just standing on carpet, then what's going to happen is your foot is just going to do this, because that's all we're going to do with our towel. So you're on your towel, okay? Don't stand in the middle of it. Stand to one side. The side that the majority of the towel is on, that's the foot that you're going to start moving. The heel stays on the floor. This can be done from seated position. I just want to keep us standing for a little bit since our heart rate should be up. Scooch the foot. You are picking it up, externally rotating it, planting it, internally rotating it, lift, twist, scooch. And now, obviously, you're going to run out of towel, and then you're going to make the foot push it back out. It's not going to be pretty, and the towel's not going to go back to its uncrumpled position. Pull it in, pull it in. Having a towel versus just doing it on the floor, push it out, changes the resistance just a little bit, okay? Pull it in. Maybe you've got a bigger towel and you're like getting more, but we could go 10, right? Push out, 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 out. It is the lifting up of the toes and the dragging it either way that's working your anterior tibialis. Pull it in, pull it in, pull it in, pull it in, push it out, push, 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 and relax. And now you should have some fatigue in that shin area. Okay. Other side. I have a really light resistance band, so thin, so light resistance that with people who have actually had, significant ankle, they've rolled their ankle, they've got some dysfunction, some weakness in it. We attach the band to the foot and to a fixed object, and we do the same move, but with a band to help train these muscles. That's how important they are. So leg number 2, if you haven't already started, pull. Look down at your own foot, right? Watch it lift, disengage from the towel, the heel swivels out, plant it, pull it, right? Plant it, pull it, and then you can get some speed going to it. Once you feel like you're all bunched up, push it the other way, push, push. And I hope what's happening to me is happening to you. As you stand, keep your knees, it's called knee extension. Keep your knees extended, which will help you fire up your quads a little bit more. And the leg that you stand on should feel like your bun is doing some work. You're going to do 2 more sweeps in. 2 more rounds of sweeping in and out. Pull, pull, pull. Get it. Bunched up. Push it out. Push, push. Last time, pulling in. So if you were on the carpet, right? Release and relax. Maybe you didn't feel as much, but I would like to think that you felt something out of that. Grab a little drink. So there's somebody I know who is involved in this project, but I didn't know at the time when I made my statement that the one thing I commented on was the one thing that she was looking to have implemented. The one thing that I negatively commented on was the one thing that she wanted to make sure was included in this project, right? Push and pull. Isn't that funny? Now, hammer time to shoulder press. Did you pick the appropriate weight? I know that my biceps and shoulders can handle my 10-pounder. You might go, okay, I want to do some of my repetitions at a heavier weight because I feel like, I'm at that point. I want to challenge myself. Just know it's helpful to have a couple of different weights that you can make an immediate change as soon as you feel like your form is compromised, right? You go, oh, looks like we're still going because Michelle's not counting. I need to lessen the weight so that I don't strain myself. Have you added in the lower body? Opposite leg steps. Push. If you had a mirror, when you get to your up push, you want to make sure that your weight is not over the middle of your head. It needs to be directly on top of your shoulder joint. Don't slide it in. Step, push. Guide and track with the scapula down. The elbow slides into its chamber. Release. Step, think power, push, retrace, rock back. Maybe you're like, I need to help it, but then you've got plenty of power. This thing that we're able to generate, explosive strength is the thing. The explosive strength that you can generate by absorbing the down and then powering up will get you with the ability to do more than what you think you can. Step, push. Now you're going to do one more. And I want you to think about on your push at the end range, when you've pushed up, squeeze your bun. Ready? Curl, load down, push and squeeze, and release. Shake it off. Set that weight down. We're going to let your body have a little relax, not really relaxed. You're still moving. So then, because it's there, so back to my story. Okay. So then an email went out. All the people who attended a meeting, who were live at the meeting, there were some people who called in on Zoom at the meeting. The people who called in at Zoom kind of, sent an email to this group of us. And they were like checking in, and this is what I got out of the meeting. And anyway, so the person that I don't think that I offended her. I just think that she wanted to be very clear about what her desire was for this project because of how how clearly I said X, release and relax. So this very long-winded email was all about this one thing that she wanted to have. And I thought that was funny because in my opinion, this was the one thing that did not need to be implemented, which I thought was so funny. But that is the interesting aspect. Are you ready? You've chambered up. Start the push, right? Don't waste the first repetitions by not getting your full glute contraction. And if you find that your body kind of goes cockeyed, stop and reestablish, track the shoulder blade down, step back, step in, bend, drive it. Now, you always have the option to override a movement that I'm suggesting for you. If you have a particularly crabby shoulder, right? It's like, I don't want to do that. Then you abide by what your body sensory is telling you. And maybe you just get the bicep curl, right? Maybe you totally eliminate the weight and you're just doing the rock step. Maybe this is a no-go movement for you, period, on all levels. And you're like, well, I'm just going to march in place. Push. Don't forget to squeeze the glute. Elbow tracks in. You have to imagine that there is a wall right off your side, right? So that your arm isn't able to bow out or you'd be running into the wall, right? So get something, that visual of something right next to you. Everything is compressed and strong. 4 more. Rock, step, push. So our biceps, triceps, and shoulders are like similarly sized muscles. And the rule of thumb is that these 3 muscles can often use the same amount of weight. That is why we're doing shoulder presses and bicep curls, 1 more, with this weight. Now, squeeze your bun, push, release and relax. Then the question is, yeah, but isn't that the same weight you use for your legs? Yes, it is. I know that I could lift much heavier on my legs, but I don't want to. So it's that simple. But me not wanting to doesn't mean that you shouldn't if you feel so inclined. Right? Here we go. You're jogging in place. We're almost ready to shift gears and we're going to go to the floor. We're going to go to the floor with the intention of working our QL, right? And our hamstrings. Shake it out. I don't want you to feel like you're jacking your heart rate up high. I just want you to feel like you're allowing that last move to be cleaned out of your system so that you have a a uh, a nice slate to start from where your body is fresh and ready to go. So for our hamstrings, you're going to need, why don't we say we'll bring the ball back into the equation? Relax. Put your mat down. You're going to be on your back. We're going to start with the hamstrings and then we'll get to the QL. Okay. So with our legs on the ball, we do not need head support because we're essentially going to be going into bridging, right? And with a head support, that might just put you at too much of a propped up head. All right. Does your ball have little lines on it, right? Personally, I like the lines to go the direction that the ball is moving. That's just my OCD, right? So look at your ball, try to, the lines help you know whether or not it's like tracking true. With your legs extended from about mid calf to the heel on the ball. If the ball's too tucked in, then your feet with legs extended will not have support, and they need to be supported. All right, so legs on the ball, take your low back, pull your low back to the mat, squeeze and activate the glutes. Maybe you're even holding your head up while we're getting situated because you're looking at the screen going, what's she going to do? I want you to look at your own feet. What have your feet done? Have they flopped out to the side? Let's flex them and work them closer together so that the side edges of your big toes touch. Uh-oh. Now, reactivate knee extension, command the pelvic tilt, put eyes on your feet for a second, go, okay, everything visually looks right, and then lower your head to the floor. And when you lower your head to the floor, don't let your feet separate. All right, your arms are opened and a little bit downcast. Palms are turned up and slowly start deepening the pelvic tilt so you feel like your hips can lift from the floor. The pelvic tilting action should be the driving force to what brings the hips off the floor. And as soon as the hips get off the floor, your body now should have a little bit of like instability to it. Okay, that's what we want. The deeper you pelvic tilt and the straighter you make your legs, the more in charge you will feel. So this, my friends, is considered an isometric contraction. You have your hips off the floor. Your legs are as stiff as boards. The side edges of your feet are connected. Your feet are in as tight of a flexed foot position as you can get in, which means your toes are pulling towards your knees. Belly to spine, ribs down, ribs down, which should allow you to get a deeper pelvic tilt. Now, the muscles back here, right? I said we were going to go for hamstrings. How are we going to get there? Because right now it's just really more glute. Can you keep your hips up and now pull by bending the legs, pull the ball towards your hips? Push the legs out to straight. Don't set the hips down unless you absolutely need to. So this is what's considered a leg curl. Keep the hips up, pull the ball to the buns, push the ball out, pull, push, pull, push, 5, push, 4, 3, 2, 1, set it down. Oh, Lordy. I do know that maintaining the right position with your torso, right? As your hips are lifted and you're pulling the ball, sometimes your back arches and you don't actually really realize it, right? Because there's a lot that's going on here. But we're going to do one more move, 5 repetitions, slightly harder. If you're like, yeah, I'm not going harder. If you are not opting for the harder version, then you're just going to repeat the ball tuck and press. If you're going to go for the harder version, it starts the exact same way as movement number 1. Legs are straight, flexed feet, pelvic tilt, lift the hips, pull the ball in, and here's where the next movement starts. Bridge the hips from there. Don't re-straighten the legs. Bridge and down. Bridge, lower but not touching the floor. This is number 4. Number 5, re-straighten the legs, set it down. That was it. And I know I said we were going to work the QL. If you have a minute, I'm just really curious about you all trying something with me. So just for the sake of challenge and variety, right? Okay. How hard is it for you to do a sit-up with your legs on the ball? Try. Stretch your legs, stretch your arms, squeeze your belly down towards the mat, pelvic tilt, and then what's required of you to sit up? Ha ha ha. Maybe you got here. Maybe you only did what I did on the first rep, like you can't get beyond a certain point. But let's try a few more of these. And you're just going to do whatever your body can. Push down into the ball, sit up. If you manage to get up, okay, so if you manage to get up as we do the next 3, try not to let the leg leave the ball. Keep pushing into the ball. Stretch, pelvic tilt, pull it up, reach. 2 more. Inhale, push down into the ball. 1 more. Inhale, push, release and relax. Nice. This is the thing about, there are so many exercises to do, back it up, that for me, it's hard to condense it down. What do I want to do today? Because it can be like 52 card pickup. There's so many exercises, right? And that's why we only have to do, a few. We don't have to do 500 repetitions of something. But as you do the classes more and more with me, we do have a handful of things that are repetitively done. And then I can throw in these little extra things that make you go, "Ah, why is that so hard?" Because, right? Because the body's just not used to doing it. Go forward one last time. Back it up. Nice little derriere massage. Push, push, push. Now relax. Can we do a nice gentle hip stretch to be done with this? Okay. So we'll do modified pretzel. Extend one leg, cross the other leg over, gently pull it to you. Rock on your buns a little bit to feel yourself get as square as possible. And then hook the arm around the knee. So often I see people do same arm to that knee and they pull in, but you really want opposite arm pulling to the leg, because that's what's going to help you get more into that aligned sit position. Shoulders down. Keep drawing it down. And as you draw your shoulders down, try to decrease the space between your rib, right? Rib and chest area to the thigh. So you pull your shoulders down and you lift and glide your torso forward while you're holding that. If your foot lifts off the floor, that's fine. Just keep trying to implement up and forward with the torso. Release, other side. Cross over, settle the hips in. Oof, that one's tight. Pull it in. Oh, that's funny. Okay. We often will forget that this other leg, sometimes it's the leg, sometimes it's the arm, right? But today it's the leg. This leg that seemingly is doing nothing actually does have a job, and that's to stay in a pushing position, right? So that leg is pushing, and you're pulling on the other leg. It's been a while since I mentioned, I call it the yin and the yang, right? So one side is doing one action and the other side is creating a tension that makes what you're actually identifying a more intense sensation. Because run your own experiment, soften the leg. That should be less intense. Create the tension, should be more, and release, relax. You have successfully completed this portion of your day. I hope to see you tomorrow, and maybe there'll be more stories to share. Okay, you all, behave yourself.